Hi, and welcome to the first episode of Fake Spike Football. This is your host, Matt, and I wanted to start out my first episode talking about the Dolphins 2022 offseason. If the Dolphins made enough progress in terms of signing free agents and improving through trades, trying to get the roster better for 2022. So I really wanted to take a look at that for the first episode, but then out of nowhere, this Tyreek Hill trade came into fruition and it really caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting it at all. It seemed like it happened so fast. One minute I was talking to my brother Drew, and then the next thing you know, there was rumors that Tyreek Hill might be traded to the Jets or to the Dolphins. And then soon after that, I think one of the beat writers or maybe one of the national reporters, I don't know if it was Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter, but one of these guys had tweeted that the trade had taken place. So this came from out of nowhere. I had no idea this was going on. I'm not sure if many people did. Maybe the front offices of the Chiefs and the Dolphins and the Jets, maybe those guys knew what was going on. Obviously, a player just doesn't come available in the market and then he gets traded within an hour of his availability. I mean, that seems to be kind of quick.
You're even fast going to the bathroom. That was quick.
Hey, yo. Yeah. Quick, baby. Cheetah.
My take on the trade is that the Dolphins were able to add a very explosive weapon to their offense, and this is an offense that really needed to have star power. Not just because they needed a name player, a player with a reputation for production, but also a player who has superstar ability, a player who has the ability to affect the defense in the way that Tyreek Hill does. It really doesn't come available very often. You're talking about a guy who can keep defenses honest, especially in the deep secondary, a guy that gets a lot of room to operate underneath. We're talking about a player who gets so much cushion underneath that he gets what my cousin calls all the time very cheap yards. He has the ability to take a short pass for 5, 10, 15 yards, pick up a first down. And we're talking about passes that aren't particularly high risk passes, so you can get the ball to him pretty quickly and he will be a weapon in the offense. And there is no doubt about that. So he appears to fit what the Dolphins need on offense. The Dolphins needed star power. They got it in Tyreek Hill. He has elite speed. The Dolphins could use that even with Jaylen Waddle on the roster. And Tyreek Hill, as far as I know, I haven't dug in and checked his injury history. But what I think I know about Tyreek Hill's injury history is that he's been a relatively healthy and reliable player. He hasn't had a history of being injured or off and on the IR, so I think he can be a reliable weapon as well. I've heard some critics talk about how compatible is Tyreek Hill's skill set with Tua Tagovailoa's skill set. So from my perspective, I think that Tyreek Hill is exactly the kind of player that Tua needs. And the reason why I say that is because Tyreek Hill has the ability to get separation from defensive backs very quickly, and he also gets a lot of cushion from defensive backs because of his deep speed. So when you factor those things in, it kind of fits what Tua likes to do with the RPO offense, faking the handoff to the running back, keeping the ball, throwing the slant across the middle. Those drag routes, those slant routes, those crossers, Tyreek Hill can get open on those routes very quickly. Tua can get rid of the ball very quickly, throw accurate passes, and Tyreek Hill can then take the ball and get some yards after the catch. So that's why I think he will be particularly valuable in this offense, and he would mesh beautifully with Tua's skill set. A lot of people believe that Tua's skill set may not match Hill's skill set because the way he played in the Chiefs offense with Patrick Mahomes, they took a lot of shots deep, and it seems that Tua's arm would not allow him to make the kind of plays that he made in Kansas City. So a lot of people believe that, hey, Tua doesn't really throw a great deep ball. Tua can't really throw the ball 70 yards down the field. This doesn't seem to be a good match just by looking at the visuals, but when you break down their games, you can see that they're probably more compatible than people are willing to admit. The other thing that Hill does is that he can become sort of a mentor for Jaylen Waddle, right? A guy who's pretty much the same size. I think they're both 5'10". I think Hill might be 190. Waddle may be 185. So they have very similar sizes, even though they aren't really built exactly the same way. They have very similar speed. Hill is probably still the fastest man in the NFL. Waddle is probably somewhere in his vicinity. So they have very similar builds, very similar skills as well. So I like to see these two guys on the field together at the same time. They have the ability to play both on the outside and in the slot. They can line up in multiple parts of the field. They can run the ball, end the rounds. They can go in motion to free themselves from potential jams at the line of scrimmage. So the skills that they have is definitely an asset. That deep speed, it can't be taught, it can't be coached. And these guys aren't just fast guys, they're also very productive NFL players. I believe they both topped 100 receptions and 1,000 yards receiving last season. So obviously they can do a lot given the opportunity. One of the things that kind of stood out to me about the acquisition was that when Jaylen Waddle was drafted by Chris Greer, he was drafted to kind of be the next Tyreek Hill. That's how the Dolphins saw him. He was projected to be a guy who can help Tua by getting open very quickly on routes. The familiarity that Tua had with Waddle would help them connect in the passing game. And the team thought that Jaylen Waddle's presence would be able to help force the defensive backs to respect the speed and play a little bit deeper in the secondary, allowing for more room in the middle of the field, especially with crossing routes. So for them to actually get their hands on Tyreek Hill must have been like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They thought they were getting that with Jaylen Waddle. He had a productive rookie season, but now to pair him up with Tyreek Hill, which you know was a guy they were trying to target, at least a guy who can play like him, it will do a lot for this Dolphins offense to have two guys who can stretch the defense like they once did. A lot of people think, well, those are kind of smaller receivers. They're both 5'10". In the modern NFL, it seems like wide receivers are usually bigger, 6 feet, 6'2", 6'4", those kinds of ranges. But the Dolphins played with two wide receivers in Mark Duper and Mark Clayton in the 80s, who were 5'8" and 5'9" respectively. The Dolphins have had success with smaller wide receivers in the past, so I don't think their size will be an issue at all. So having a guy like Waddle and having a guy like Tyreek Hill can get a guy like Mike McDaniel, who probably has all these creative ideas in order to use these guys, give them an opportunity to become weapons on the field. But beyond the passing game, a guy like Tyreek Hill can also affect the running game because he has the ability to push defensive backs further into the defensive backfield. So you'll have a cornerback in poor position to defend the perimeter, and running backs looking to turn the corner would have one less defender to have to contend with in order to get to the outside. And that opens things up for the running game. And that's really good for Mike McDaniel, who wants to incorporate an outside zone scheme in the offense where they can get the ball to the perimeter and then cut it back using one cut or get to the boundary and turn the corner. So it all depends on what keys the running backs are looking for. But having that very successful running offense, and we've seen it in San Francisco, we saw it in Denver back in the days, we've seen it in Washington. This is an offensive system created mostly by Mike Shanahan, which evolved over the years with Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, and of course Mike McDaniel. They were kind of in a think tank in Washington where, they would feed off each other and come up with innovative play designs in order to move the football. So this running game has had a track record of success, and competing against 7 men in the box is to the offense's advantage. And, an effective running game will definitely help Tua and the offense in general. So I'm very optimistic about what Tyreek Hill can bring to the offense, and I like the way he fits into Tua's skill set. So I think that this is an overall positive signing. We'll get into the impact on the draft and the salary cap in another episode. But for now, I just wanted to sign off by saying that this was a very good trade for the Dolphins. For the fans, it's a way of giving hope to having some type of excitement for the future that will lead to more wins, and eventually it will allow the team to be more successful and hopefully make it to the playoffs. So once again, this is Matt signing off. And you guys, please let me know what you think about the Tyreek Hill trade in the comment section below. And if you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you for watching.